Those are all. 2, 4. Show. All.
Man alive, if that's not one song you wish would never end. But here's where we begin, babies, right here at the top of your rock and roll heart, baby. Yeah, heart and soul with Coyote Medicine, don't you know? It's the Hazy Radio Network with Grandpw Koyote and friends. Tuning you in once again, you betcha, baby, one way or another. Today, man, we're only getting a third, a tenth of a broadcast out there. Somehow the stream just ain't rocking. But anyway, we're still talking, and we're still rocking, and we're still rolling, ain't we, babies? Have we just set you on fire and just burned up all your illusions, and now you're seeing clearly the same way the sun does when it shines down from the sky and says, wow, what a bright little place that is down there. Look at all them shadowy contrasts and shit. Those high trails and those low places with those mossy, swampy things and the frogs eating flies and stuff. Wow. It's just, wow. It's kind of angelic, that view. Because it's like you're up there. Only it's not like you're really flying. It's like, yeah, you're really up there. But you're down here and you're everywhere else too. You see it all. It's kind of all around you, baby. Ooh, babies, when you live it like that, then it will astound you. That's I hate to say it, but that's a step ahead of hang gliding any day of the week and not near as hazardous to your health, man. And I tell you what, I was an avid hang glider for a little while back in my early 30s, man. Had a great time doing it. And like I was telling some friends in the chat room just a few minutes ago, there actually is footage of some of my landings and stuff. The good ones, I mean. Oh, somebody got a picture of one of my crashes somewhere, but I haven't seen that shit in years. I think my cunning little offspring stole it. I ain't going to say which one or how that happened or anything. I don't know. I know they just disappeared somehow, and I never seen them again. I had lots of pictures, though. That was fun. I really have had a life where, I didn't mind pushing the edge a little bit if I felt that I could get away with it, And the moment I felt like I couldn't get away with it anymore, then it was time to move on down the trail, I mean, even Butch Cassidy had to quit robbing banks after a while. You understand? I wasn't quite on the career criminal path like he was, but I was kind of like, a bit of a punk till about I get over my early 30s. You know how it is, like I was a hippie JC truck driving fool, man, but I couldn't just stay with one thing. I had to do other things. God, when I got into hang gliding, it was wild. It was fun, man. But oh my goodness. And there's nothing more peaceful than that feeling of, taking off from a mountain when everything's perfect, goes just right. And, you get up there and you maybe catch even a thermal or two, You're still just learning how to ride those things, and how to stay in them. But, how to read them, in other words. But you're learning your bird-like senses. But, it's not a sport that'll let you make a lot of mistakes, I kind of learned that the hard way a time or two, so I had to hang it up after a while. But, of course, after the big crash and, one of my bones got mashed and all that stuff, after that all healed up, I had to go back and fly again just to show myself I could. And then out of stubbornness, I just couldn't part with that thing. I didn't fly it, but I didn't want to part with it. And so then I broke my little toe. I stubbed my toe on that and broke my little toe on that thing laying there in the hallway, which is about the only way I could store that thing. It's long. That little package was long. And it was a fun flyer too, let me tell you. But it was, wow, boy, you had to be on top of that, mother. And I'm such a light guy, I really had to make my emotions extreme, in order to get that thing to do anything. I should have got one that would have been a little smaller and a little more responsive. That would have been the wiser path. But you get anxious. You want to go get that tall air, You get hooked on it quick, And the next thing you know, you're up there flying so darn high, and you don't even know how you got there. And it's you're looking at yourself, one of your conscious moments, you're looking at yourself, you're saying, oh my God. And you're looking at this flimsy little kite above you, and these strings and tubes and wires and shit, they're holding everything together. And, you know, your life is hanging on one little turnbuckle up there between you and the hang glider where you harness in there, you know. Your whole life rides on that one little turnbuckle, man. But you kind of have to, you got to pay attention to that stuff so nothing goes wrong. And of course, you know, you put two turnbuckles on, you don't just have one. So if one fails, the other one should catch it. But yeah, you just never know. But, you know, the odds are better than 50-50. You're going to live tell about it, you know. But boy, I sure seen some people come down and crash pretty hard. Myself included one time, and that really hurt, I'll tell you. More than my pride. Hell, there's no pride in that at all. I just like, oh my God. You know, and then this voice comes to you and says, don't do that again, you dumb shit. Well, it was a little more dramatic than that. I'm sure I've told you the story before, but it was a loud voice. You could hear it, man, echoing in your head anyway. They wanted to make sure they made an unmistakable impression on me. Because, you know, I have a tendency, especially back in those days, to be a little radical and foolish, to push the edge a little bit, you know. So, you know, I'd take chances where others wouldn't, you know. And sometimes you just can't be taking those kind of chances because the odds are against you. And you got to realize that. You got to trust your instincts. You know, you can't let your emotions overcome your instincts. That's part of what I was learning there. But I was also learning about emotion, too. Because this was one time I felt free to feel. You know, I'd had such an inhibited... Oh, anyway, it's a long story, but I still hippie bum anyway. But, wow, you know, what an experience that was. And I think I did it for about a year and a half, something like that. You know, before I had to hang it up. Because if I didn't, I knew it. I mean, I knew I'd be one of the fatalities. Because I'd seen a few of my friends go down already. You know, and so I wasn't one to be that. I figured that was as long as the odds run on that one. And you know what's really funny? I hit a similar point in truck driving just a few years back. I knew I'd hit my 3 million mile mark somewhere back in there, you know. And I'd had this trip where everything just kind of ran contrary to me. And the angels were saying, Coyote, you don't want to do this. You don't want to have to put up with this. You don't want to act like this. Because that's what you have to do to get unloaded sometimes. You have to be a bit of a bully because these guys just walk all over if you don't. You know, anyway, just a long story short, I mean, goodness gracious, you just like, you know, enough was enough. And I knew as I was coming home from that trip, which did take a rather extended amount of time because of the hassles they put me through there, but I got her done. You know, everybody was happy, got everybody satisfied, so, you know. But I knew I wasn't going back in that direction ever again. In fact, I was hanging it up. You know, I loved my trucks, you know, but God, I'd really got to the point where I really had enough of them, you know. You know, they're ornery and cantankerous when they want to be. They can be pretty cool runners, too. I mean, they can be your friends, too, but wow, they can be a hassle. And so can the world out there. As far as trucking was going, it was deteriorating fast, and you couldn't make any money at it anymore anyway. I mean, I retired probably making less than when I started out or something. Who knows? But anyway, it's all relative, and who cares? It just got to that point, and I knew that, you know, it was time. Hang up them old spurs. But I'm such a coward sometimes. I couldn't face it. I hung on all weekend. I was agonizing. You know, and I knew if I took that next trip, the wind would be really blowing against me, and I'd have to be really super cautious. And, you know, I can't do that. I'm just not, you know, I don't want to live in that kind of world. So when the boss called Tuesday morning and said, hey, dude, I got a load for you, I said, oh, I got a story for you. He wasn't none too happy, but he didn't cuss me. He understood in his own way, relatively, you know. I mean, for those guys, trucking was like living and breathing, and they'd never quit it, you know. They'd die behind the wheel, reckon, but that just wasn't the kind of fate I wanted to see for me. I never did. I never wanted to hurt anybody was one of those things, and I never wanted to hurt myself, especially, let alone kick the bucket out there. And I was blessed. I made the 3 million miles without doing that, so that's not too bad of a score. I did have a couple accidents out there, but neither one of them were like chargeable, but they were hairy, you know. It's you know, when your life's on the edge, and of course it's always on the edge out there trucking, because it's just the way it is. It's hazardous on those highways, and you got to be alert if you're going to live to tell about it. And you better develop some skills, and quick too, because you're going to need them. I mean, you know, coming into one of those big cities, some of those narrow-lane freeways with heavy traffic, and all of a sudden the car in front of you slams on the brakes for no good reason. And he ain't 15 feet in front of you because somehow he snuck in the space you try to leave there, you know. And you're breathing, it just stops for a moment while you know, you don't ham on the brakes ever in those big trucks. That just kills people, you know, and flips them over and shit. It's just really stupid size. It flattens out the tires, and you got to go buy new tires, man. Screw that. Costs a lot of money to equip one of those just with tires. So anyway, long story short, you know, you go down easy on the brakes. You look for some maneuvering room to the sides of you quick. You're really conscious of what's going on. And somehow, living and breathing, you time it just right. I mean, it's all like slow motion or something, and you time it just right. You get it down okay, and you miss the guy maybe 6 inches, maybe, you know. I mean, you're right there looking down inside of his front seat over his trunk lid, but you don't hit him, you know. And that's pretty cool. You don't hit him. You know, that's good timing, that's blessings, that's, well, maybe it's skills too, because you do develop them as you go along, man. You have to. It's survival. You know, you can't just slam on the brakes and panic like a car does. You just can't do that. You got to be skilled about it. You're a pro, you know. So you got to, like, you know what to do. It's the same way with airline pilots. I mean, mostly they sit on their ass and autopilot flies it, you know. But they're there just in case anything goes wrong. They're the dudes with the skills to pull it out. Well, that's what you are trucking, you know. Or at least used to be like that. Nowadays, they're even trying to automate skill. I don't know if you can, but who knows? You know, all I know is I was glad to be out of it now, looking back. You know, it was the hardest thing on earth. It's like giving up a lover you've been with off and on for 50 freaking years, man. 30 out of the last 50 years, but when I retired, I had been driving truck over the road, you know. And wow, most of it multi-state stuff, you know. Occasionally I'd do some short runs in-state, you know, if they paid good, and, you know, I had some easy hours. Once in a while I'd coast like that, you know. So those were a lot more manual work always than the long-haul stuff. Long-haul stuff mostly just drive, hurry your ass up, get there, wait, you know, get to the next place, wait. You know, that's how it is. And then haul ass because they want it now. It's a crazy situation, man. It's amazing that it works at all, but somehow it does, and somehow we were willing warriors out there on the highways of life, but we were peaceful warriors, you know what I mean? The white knights of the road, man, you know. I mean, it wasn't that there wasn't a few freaks out there even then, you know. That speed shit can really mess people up, and it was a pretty popular thing at times out there, you know, and some guys just couldn't handle it, you know. But they got kind of filtered out pretty quick, didn't they? Yeah. And pretty soon drugs was an issue, you know, because people made it that way, you know. If they'd just been cool about it, but somebody overdoes it. But basically, mostly we were kind of like white knights of the highway, and we didn't overdo it, you know. We did what we had to do to get to where we got to go and get, you know, deliver the goods, because that's our job, man. You know, but we also looked at our employer as the people, not necessarily, you know, the dispatcher dude back there in Chicago or L.A. or New Orleans or wherever they happen to be. You know, sometimes Denver, wow. But anyway, it was like, yeah, just, your employer was the public, man, and that's who you were in service to. And you kind of just took it that way. So in a way, you were a civil servant as a trucker. Amazing as that might seem to people now, because the thing is so reversed out there. That's another reason I retired. There's no respect. The brotherhood had, well, all retired. They'd had enough of the bullshit out there, because the law had been pretty heavy duty, and the people too. They just were, like that incident we were just talking about, where you stopped 6 inches, but at least you got the 6 inches somehow. That's miracles. That's angels, really. But and a combination thereof, But it's also like people trying to take advantage of you. If you'd have nailed that sucker, you guarantee this sucker would have had something hurt, and there would have been a big industrial lawsuit on that trucking company. Well, what these dumbasses don't know is a lot of these trucking companies, in fact, most of them really, you get a big lawsuit, you get a huge judgment on them like that, and 3 or 4 other people do too. You might know about it, you might not. But that puts them out of business, so they just go bankrupt and move their equipment to another state and paint it different colors and register under different names and numbers and shit, and away you go. They're back in business in no time. Everything's new, including the drivers. Nobody knows anything. We're just trying to make a living, Crazy little business that trucking is, man. Nowadays, they're trying to out-consolidate all those fly-by-nights and make them all fly-by-days. Big, huge conglomerates that basically only want automatons behind the wheel of their trucks, and they don't let them drive very fast, so that they try not to hurt people. And they try to train them, but they don't train them very well, and they turn them loose way too soon because the need for drivers exceeds, the supply. So they've kind of been pushing stuff. Then it's just, and that's made the law a whole lot meaner too then, because then they're watching everybody like your dodo heads, And a guy like me has been on the road forever, off and on. See, I was smart about it. I'd work a few years, and then I'd go do something else for a while. Then I'd come back, work a few years, etc., Like I said, 30 out of the last 50 years trucking, man. It was a kick in the ass. That was almost as much fun as hang gliding, I can't believe I actually did those 3 million miles. I really can't. It was amazing, amazing experience. Every mile of it. A mile, a miracle, a mile. And I just feel so damn blessed by it all. The whole thing has just been amazing. I don't know how the hell I ever done it or got away with it. Like I said, I'm a crazy man. Sometimes I'll push the edge, step right over it like nobody's business, Hell, I don't know, no limitation. Let's see how that occupation fits, or how that biz fits, or whatever. You know what I mean? I was willing to learn on my feet, and I did pretty good at that too, As time went on, I learned to appreciate that and learned how to employ it more skillfully than I ever had before. And, like most kids, I was a bit of a dodo head. And I screwed up a lot, but I had a great time doing it. I tell you, man. But that's why I go back trucking a lot. That's my fallback. Because I made good money trucking back then. I didn't have to worry about it. I had a good reputation. And people expected that you did that. A lot of people that do that, would go trucking for a while and then go back to being a used car salesperson or an attorney or something like that, There's all kinds of different people would do that. Even cops would come and do that. Come and drive truck for a while, Take a little off-duty time, And play both sides of it so they'd be more understanding in the tickets they wrote out and shit. Yeah, right. Well, anyway, I don't know how they live with themselves, really, but somehow they did. Some of the cops back then were our friends, for real. And they'd stick up for you when it counted, and keep you out of trouble rather than get you into it, you know. So they'd watch out for you. Smiling Jack was one down there in California. Worked outside of, not Baker, but out of, not Bakersfield, what that? Barstow, yeah, good old Barstow. Boy, a desert town if ever there. Should be a deserted town, but no, it's pretty big, even these days. Railroad town then with a couple truck stops, you know. So there wasn't much out there, but that's where Smiling Jack flew out of. He flew over the I-15 and the I-10 going east, you know. So he just fly that up. That's the 15 goes to Vegas, 10 goes to Arizona, you know. So he had a pretty big route, but he was like friendly. He had a CB and he'd talk to us truckers. And, you know, if he noticed you were going a little rapid and he knew there was a cop up around the corner, he just didn't, he wouldn't just say, you know, hold up there, so-and-so. He would say something like, you know, well, associated, are you asleep at the wheel out down there? What's going on, man? And you'd slow down and, you know, you'd be okay. So there was an accident, especially out there in the desert. We all kind of worked together. You know, everybody had their job to do, and a lot of people had to get down the road. But if you know, you stopped and rendered aid if you were right there on top of it. You know, until things were secured a little bit. You know, and a lot of times, well, there's a lot of stories. Let's put it that way. You know, it's been incredible to experience humanity's heart like that. You know, despite sometimes I'm bigger than you attitude you develop out there and get to be a bit of a bully because the stupid little flies just keep coming at you. The cars, I mean. Keep testing your skills, you know. But you get over it after a while. You get over that punkiness of youth, you know, that urge to go, 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 and get out of my way. All that kind of stuff. You slow down a bit, and you learn to live and let others live too, you know. That's the lesson of life on the highway. Live and let live. You know, and then everybody gets along a whole lot better, even though people still will yell at each other and flip each other off and flip each other over once in a while, too, if they can get away with it, they think. Nobody does, man. You know, but you've been out there on the highway so long, you're like a grizzled old cop in some ways, because you've seen just about everything humanity can dish up. If you've been the miles I have, whew, I tell you. But heavily ironic and poetically beautiful both at the same time, man. You know, it's always got that edge, man. You know, of course, you know, if you look at it, one could say that was a life of insane slavery, and it sure as hell was. But I tried to pack as much illusionary freedom into it as I could. That's why I did the things I did. My territory was broad and expansive. I didn't, you know, want to be secured to any particular place or anything, really. I just liked going, you know. And in the going, I was growing, you know. For me, that was just what I needed to do, I guess. Because it does, you know, it makes you a bit neglectful of a family life. I mean, I did the best I could, better than most, as far as home time goes. So, you know, but still, you know, I sit here these days estranged from that family way back when, you know, just because ultimately that's the price you pay. Living that way, because you develop separate routines and separate lives, and your lives together after a few years. You know, I was with my first old lady 30 years. But, you know, after a number of years, I don't know, some kind of tension builds up. You know, your worlds don't grok anymore, you know. It's really weird. And it shouldn't be like that, but it is, you know, for most truckers. Ultimately, that is, you know. Some of them actually try to bring their wives with them. And, oh, my God, that's divorce for sure, you know, because you're cooped up 24/7 to that, or tied to that truck 24/7, man, till you're off duty somewhere. And that's pretty severe, because you could be anywhere, man. Down in New Orleans when it's 120 degrees and swelteringly, you can't even breathe, man. It's so wet out there, you're drowning in the air, man. Or up there in Minnesota, 40 frickin' below zero, man, and blowing and drifting, etc. You know what I mean? It really runs the gamut, and so do you. But I'll tell you, there's lessons and learning in all of it. You grow a lot of white hair that way prematurely, too. But, shit. You live to tell about it, and others do, too. You've done something. You really have. So, yeah, maybe it was 30 years of stupid slavery, a lot of sleep deprivation, a lot of trucking for who knows what reasons, but just hauling ass, getting that freight down the highway. I hauled a lot of general goods like, groceries and such. And I like produce hauling, because that usually paid pretty good, It could be tricky, especially with things like strawberries and shit. You really had to be careful with that stuff. But if you were on top of things and reasonably awake and, could deliver the goods, get your ass down the highway, in other words, not mollycoddle and dawdle around the truck stop and shit like that, well, then, you'd make a dang good living hauling that stuff. Especially coast to coast, because that's good pay, man, $5,000-6,000 to the truck back then, which would pay the driver pretty handsomely just for being a driver, you know what I mean? And you weren't responsible, yet you were, because it was like, the truck and you better, I don't care if somebody's paying you to drive it, or if it's something you own outright or buying from the bank or whatever, you know what I mean? It's like, you got to be mated with that thing, And pretty quickly, too. It takes a few miles, so you take it real gingerly till you figure that thing out. Got a lot of weight and momentum to deal with there, and you could be in heavy traffic immediately, and unfamiliar equipment just starting out for somebody new or something, So you kind of take it easy, until you learn each other. It's like riding a horse, or getting used to having a dog in the house and becoming partners with them, not just companions, but partners, and stuff like that, It's something you're learning and growing into. Ooh, you better have some inherent skills and some inherent caring built into your heart and soul, because those that, lack that caring, I don't know what it is, but they just seem to fall by the wayside pretty quickly, And even though they're going through drivers in wholesale numbers these days, I'll just give you money. It's the same deal out there. The ones that are going by the wayside are the ones that don't belong out there anyway, because they ain't got no elegance about them. They haven't seen past the me world yet, so they really shouldn't be, especially when you're isolated like that in a truck, man, shit. You got to be psychologically prepared for that. You make a Zen thing out of it so you can live with it, and live with yourself doing it. It's the only way I know of getting through it. And I couldn't have described it like that, but I just developed that early in my younger days, You had to, because you could not go to sleep driving across those mountains out there in Utah, where I learned how to truck drive, And nearly had my life taken so many times, couldn't even count them. I'm sure I've told the story about coming off Soldier Summit and losing my brakes and living to tell about it. I mean, and that was when I was like 16, maybe even 15, somewhere back in there. You could get a license when you were 15. That's when I got one. That's when I started driving over the road. The long haul I started a little later. That's just my younger days. That's my training in the family biz, man. So, boy, you develop some skills, and mainly you develop the skill of going, oh my God, thank you. Living to tell about it without shitting or wetting your pants. You know what I mean? You stay cool. I mean, that's how I stayed alive, even as a kid. I learned that somehow, maybe it's a gift I was born with or something. I don't know. But I sure developed it early on. You know, a gift to survive, you know, and to be skilled in that survival, to know which way to turn and do it immediately without question. Just go with it. Because if you didn't, you're going to die or somebody else might, or who knows. But anyway, you're just getting out of the way and you're trying to resolve a sticky situation quick like, man, you know. And babies, when you got, 40-ton of heavy-ass metal and shit flying down the highway, baby, whew, you don't just turn that 180 degrees and get out of the way now, do you? You know, you got to be ready for that. You got to be skilled a bit. You got to have good eyes and a good heart to guide them. You know, I think the same thing in a car, but you don't have quite the responsibility somebody driving one of those big rigs does, because they got a whole lot more weight and momentum. It's, a lethal weapon. Sometimes you may be running alongside an atomic bomb. Who knows? Strange things go to them trucks out there. Not everybody knows what's happened, not even the drivers, you know. Sometimes you back up to a load of freight and it's sealed up and all locked up and ready to go, and somebody says sign here, and you do, and they give you the bills, and you go and deliver it over there on the other side of the country, and you don't open that thing up. You drop that trailer over there in XYZ spot over there, and as soon as that trailer's dropped and we check the seals, you're on, man, and out of here, you know. So then you bobtail off, get another trailer somewhere, and go for another load. But, geez, oh, see, so you could be carrying anything, who knows? You know, you get government loads like that. If you haul much of that, you know, a lot of times you got to have security clearance, which I had. I was blessed, but I didn't really want. So I, generally after hauling a few loads up it and putting up with, the stuff that you have to put up with government-wise, especially when you're in secure areas, well, it's too much, and they just don't pay enough, for hauling dangerous freight like that, So I said, screw it, I don't want to do that. So I went somewhere else that didn't haul that kind of crap, Got out of that one real quick, And I just wasn't going to do that military stuff. I couldn't honorably do that. I didn't feel right about it. And besides that, for the very reasons I'm talking about. You haul stuff, you don't even know what you're hauling. It's just locked up, sealed up, take it here. And there you go, and drop it there. There you go. Thank you very much. Boy, I got twin trailers waiting for you in the backside of the dock there. Go hook up to them. It's XYZ number Z1A. All that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? It's a pretty easy way to make a living. That's why drivers do it. But a lot of times you never know. What you're supposed to have is a load of, for example, of GE light bulbs. Well, that runs light. That a total double trailers is that, let alone a 53-footer, are not going to weigh more than like 25,000 pounds total, the whole rig, in the whole rig, that's the maximum that load's going to be. So you're grossing out, what, let's see, 32 and 25, so that's 87. No, it ain't not. Cut it out. 32 and 20, that's 57. Yes, so you're grossing out 57,000, maximum. Usually it's in the 40s, So it's pretty light load, in other words. And so you hook up to a set of double trailers there, like say in Chicago or Newark. That's where the main light bulb factory is around the country still. It's crazy, but it is, or one of them anyway. And big distribution centers there too. So you hook up to load-set light bulbs and you haul it, like I say, to the other side of the country, and you deliver it to another warehouse, and you just back them up to docks, totally sealed up. Well, it's definitely an electronics warehouse. It has light bulbs in it. You can see them all over the place. But that doesn't mean that's what's in that trailer. You don't know that. You just drop the dollies and unhook from the son of a gun and get your paperwork signed, and away you go, on to the next load. So it can be a little hairy. That's why I liked hauling groceries and stuff. You always knew what was back there, and you always felt good about it. You didn't have to feel like you're going out there poisoning people, except for the later years when the groceries got to be full of poisons. Oh my goodness. I didn't know how I could do that, but I did for a while. I even hauled Walmart freight a lot, not as a regular. Well, I did work for one of their warehouses through a contractor. And that was kind of fun in a way if you didn't displease them, but if you displeased them, oh my goodness, they weren't too much fun then. But oh well, shit, everything's making a living, and everybody's getting down the road and delivering the load, and that's what counts, man. And hopefully on time all the time. But if you miss one here and there, oh well, don't tell anybody about it, and maybe the dispatcher will let you off this time, because he knows you've been running without sleep for 3 days now, and working pretty hard the 4 days before that, He's got your real logbooks in a computer somewhere, not the ones you're writing down and trying to make bingo matches out of. That's what we used to call them, was our bingo match. Our comic books, yeah. The bingo card, that was something else. That was a stamp card. It was an ICC thing they had back. The state things back then were really screwy. You ran interstate. You had to have, every state had different requirements, and you had to be on top of it. You had to have, some had 3 or 4 categories of licenses and little stickers and tags and permits you had to have. You had books this damn thick, like 8 inches thick, full of licenses and permits, and you had them semi-organized so you could find just about anything in there if you knew what you were looking for. And some cop's standing there at the scale house and demanding you to produce your extended weight, extended length, over whatever permit for an extended time that was extended to you back in April of '89, and it's '97 now, or something like that. You know what I mean? And you got to find that thing. And some of the cops will be kind to you because they know what it looks like and they'll help you find it. But back then we had bingo cards, so you had a tax stamp. And some states required them and some didn't. So it looked like a bingo card, semi-filled out. If you got a line full, it was bingo time. You could treat yourself to a steak dinner or something. Cowboys. Hell, it was a lot of fun, man, And it's pretty simple back then if you just had all your licenses and permits. In some states, if you were smart, you never, ever, ever signed up. You always bought it. If you didn't, even if you went through there fairly often, let's say twice a month, you just buy permits, because that state in particular, if you bought the permits, was a hell of a lot cheaper than being licensed, because the license alone was like $3,000 or something, and then you got to pay per mile, and stuff like that. You had to know this stuff, Well, a lot of it you learned along the way, and sometimes by overpaying and somebody telling you, you're getting gouged, brother. See, we were a brotherhood. We looked out for each other, So there's always tricks to the trade, just like there isn't any of them. And if you're a real brotherhood, you share them, the oldsters to the youngsters and so on, and keep everything flowing a little more smoothly because of it. That way, there ain't no naive players out there going to go kill somebody because they don't know what to do, And the freight gets delivered and everybody's happy and everybody's making money, Crazy world, though. It's intense. You work a lot, And these guys that do it for 40, 50 years straight, oh, I feel so sorry because here, I'm a few years from retirement age now. And, on the high side of it. And I'm healthier, even though I'm dealing with some issues right now. I'm healthier than most all those guys I knew in their 50s, And I think it's because I did it the way I did it. I'd only truck for a few years, and then I'd take a little rest break. Really, though, for me, and I tended to either play real hard or work real hard, and so if I was working real hard, I'd start little businesses I could get my family involved in sometime. Sometimes that worked, sometimes not, but. You just go with the flow, man, and you just have a good time. It's all rock and roll. You learn that medicine along the way. That's the Zen thing I'm talking about. That's the whole thing about anything you do. It's getting in the Zen, which is a zone of presence where your presence and the presence of whatever piece of machinery or animalhood you're dealing with is present with you. You're kind of a synchronized unit, yet each has its own place, presence, personality. You know, one's a machine and one's a machinery. If you catch my drift, you see. One's human, one better be humane is what it better be, and the other's kind of like, you know, supposedly made out of cold steel, but somehow it's got conscious presence, man. You know, it does, whatever, you know. Two airplanes produced side by side, they both fly a little differently. Identical things. Come off the line right behind each other. Fly different. Same with trucks, same with automobiles. Automobiles, it can be a little more subtle, but especially these days, they're so automated. But, you know, there's always been that difference. There is still that personality, and you get lemons, too. You know, some people say there's witches working the auto factories. Well, could be, who knows? Life's such a comedy, isn't it? Wow. I tell you. Well, the Tennesseans are smiling. They're building Nissans and stuff down there. And the guys in Detroit, I don't know what they're doing. I don't know where they are. Oh, Texas. They all went to Texas. That's right. Well, I guess you can make a good living down there. At least, I don't know anymore. But, you know, I'm sure at one time it was a booming thing. Gotta bless Texas, man, because if you don't, they'll come after you, okay? In every way. They're worse than the Scientologists, man. You don't mess with Texas. I think old Governor Obama back there is kind of learning that. You know? Oh, goodness, it's a crazy world. And you get to see a lot of it when you live life on the side that I have. You see a lot of that drama in the streets and shit, man. Sometimes you get involved in it when you'd really rather not, you know. Stuff like that happens, man. You see some of the bigger things in life happen as well as some of the smaller things which are bigger than all get out. You know, God, you know, and you learn to love, easy to learn to love or hate humanity, depending on your point of view. Me, I loved them. And I still do. You know, I mean, humanity it's kind of proved itself to me out there. Yeah, there's a lot of assholes, crazy, crazy people. But man, the good people far outnumbered them by the billions, you know. Wow. You know, I mean, the angels are everywhere, and they live as human beings. And that's you and me and a lot of others. But there's a lot of them that were a little more divinely present than others there for a long time. And that's what I'm talking about. The ones that really knew that they cared. You know, it's like I said, you know. There's a difference. You can still see it to these days. It's a little more blended in now. They've learned how to disguise things. God, I tell you. But, you know, we've also gotten that much wiser, too. Our heart's that much more open. So we see through the deception, you know, the illusion that's been played on us for so long here. You know, and it's trick-or-treat time, ain't it? I mean, you know, getting towards the end of October now, and you paint your face and go out and try to scare people into giving you shit, you know? Boo! Trick-or-treat! Yeah, I got a trick-or-treat for you, kid. Come here. Not really. But, you know, I mean, you know, it's the time of year you like to freak people out. Well, freak them out by just being genuine today, okay? I mean, you know, feel your life story the way I've been feeling mine. Well, I share such stuff with you every now and then, you know? It's a way of helping you see your life in much the same way. You know, and the mind sounds kind of extreme and difficult. Hell yeah. But I don't have to look 3 feet from me to find somebody who lived a little more difficult life than I have, and some that have a lot more extreme experience than I have. So see, it's all relative, you know. And life on the edge has many levels, and some of them can be pretty sick and distasteful. Let's put it that way. They're a little rough around the edges. Man. And wow and how. So, you know, I don't think my existence was so despicable at all. I think I was pretty privileged in a lot of ways. You know, I got away with a lot here. And I made some good money in my time, and shit. Learned a lot of hard lessons, and a lot of good ones too. Not many of them came easy. But that's the path of the coyote medicine, man. Now hear me talk about how easy it is to live in the simple way, right from the heart. But how difficult it is to see that so you can be that. Because your whole mind says, this guy ain't no scientist. He ain't no medical professional. He's kind of a weird confessional dude. Tells lots of wild stories, but, and he's giving me permission to be myself, right? Is that what he's saying? What's this dude trying to tell me, man? Who is this dude? This spooky dude, man, up there in the mountains, man, up there in that Hermitage he calls Spaceship Love, poised for takeoff at 9,000 feet high in the Rocky Mountain sky. Oh, baby, it's coyote medicine through and through here on the Hazy Radio Network, baby. It's getting it clear, dear, ain't we now? Coyote Medicine Show. Well, what do you know? Seeing this morning I just kind of rendering out a special kind of program today, because we only got a few listeners out there. The mainstream just ain't getting there right now, So hopefully we're recording this as we go along here, and then, I'll share it with everybody on YouTube later. It's been a good little rap and roll to go along with the rock and roll today on this. What is this, Thrilling Thursday? Wow. See, and I'm looking at mountains today and recollecting on hang gliding. I'm going, wow. And that leads to, of course, trucking stories. Of course. What else would it do? Welcome to Grandpa's Coffee Shop. We call it the Coyote Club, man. Day after day, Monday through Friday. You never know what kind of recipe or formula you're going to get. Day to day here, Monday through Friday, on the Coyote Medicine Show. With Grandpw Koyote and so much more, the whole human tribe, the whole entire existence joined in a harmonic, vibratory sort of way. So the vibration you feel is the one that's real, okay? And that's the one with which we deal here, man, each and every day. As this old grandpa, barely able to breathe, helps you get underway. Okay, baby. In other words, keep a good attitude about yourself. Have some gratitude about the life you've lived and where you are right now with it, man. Wherever that is. You might be in a state of crisis. You might be in a state of total togetherness. Babies, and that's a good feeling, too. Even while you're in the state of crisisness. And that's what'll get you through. We used to call it being cool, but now it's kind of expanded. It's beyond just being cool and steady Eddie and going with the flow and getting it done, get out of the way, whatever. But, now it's more of the operative equipment is, creation itself. And so you're maneuvering creation now, not a piece of equipment anymore. So even if you're driving a piece of equipment while you're living in creation, see, you're not going to have any near misses. You ain't going to create them. So you ain't going to have those skills anymore. You could go to sleep at the wheel and dang thing drive itself on down the highway. If you're living in creation, that's the way you want to dream it, dream it. I remember the first time, and it never happened again, but because it really shocked me. And this is not a story I'll tell very often, so you're very blessed if you're lucky enough to be tuned in right now. Okay? So, I've been working pretty hard. I don't even remember when this was, back in the 80s sometime. And I was working for a pretty good outfit. I had a pretty nice piece of equipment under my feet there, and under my ass, So I was driving fool, man, making some money and having a good time doing it. But I'd been stretching it a bit, as you tend to do. And this is maybe I must have been, 31 or so, just really, I'd been on a long stretch trucking for a bit. Heading westbound there across Nevada. And I was coming off this mountain. I was on a freeway now, so, it's not like a narrow little twisty two-lane, but it's still mountain road coming off a mountain pass. You got some pretty hard turns there and stuff. And then it flattens out and goes down a long straightaway across this long stretch and climbs up a gentle hill on the other side of it. And then you hit a little ridge, and then you go down into Wells, Nevada. So it's about a 30-mile stretch from where I was, top of Pequops there. Well, somewhere coming off those mountains inside of one of those curves, I remember doing it. I fell asleep at the wheel. I just conked. Something hit me. I couldn't stop it. I'd lost my skill or something. Well, the truth is, if you've been doing this for a few years straight, you're getting a little worn out. Because you do this all the time. You stretch. And when you do get rest, sometimes you overdo that too. But anyway, you just stretch yourself. And boy, I was doing it way too hard. And I'd been doing it for years, really. But I was getting away with it because I had this ability to keep myself awake when I needed to, I didn't have to take speed to do it. Drank a lot of coffee. I don't know if that did anything good for me these days or not. I still do a lot of coffee. I like it, man. A little too much, I think. That was a habit. See, that was your keep-awake medicine, so you learn to love it. Whew. But, man, what a ride. What an experience. What a drive, man. The drive that's driven you through all of that. How the hell do you do that? But you do. You're a trooper when it comes to the heart and the experience in life you're going to have to live to enrich your heart this time around. And you know what? You pull for everybody. All the others you encounter in your life. And for me, it's true. I some people aren't quite thinking of themselves this way, I'm sure, but I do. I see it. I pull for everybody. From the days, back when I had, just family around me to, up through my school age years, all those people that I encountered, and especially those that I dealt with in any sort of personal way. And especially those you get married to and so forth. And the children, of course. So you pull for all of them, but of course. Because they're in you. You can't separate or isolate. No matter what direction life takes you. The reality and truth is, humans are united in the heart. Every one of us in the larger family of the tribe of humanity, It's insane to separate ourselves away from each other in any other way. Some people are closer blood kin than others because of where we come from and our genetics that were influenced there and all that kind of stuff, Gazillion different reasons for it. But that doesn't mean that's the larger family or where we're staying. Maybe we're growing from that to move beyond that, back into a what I would call more of a tribal way or a communal way, but tribally so. There's a vibratory harmony that goes on in creation. This is some of the things I've learned as I've been out and around about in this old world, man. God, I lived a life. And, as you grow into that, you can see, looking back, how this whole life has been a training ground to help reawaken you. That every human being, just like you and all those around you, have been through some pretty rough shit. And have not only lived to tell about it, but done better because of it, one way or another. Even if it wasn't until I got out of prison the third time, they finally caught on. Some people learn the hard way. Ooh. Ooh. Thank goodness most of us didn't get hornswoggled that way. Oh my goodness. There's sure a lot of us in jail today. I don't know why. Is there that many criminals? There's just too many laws and law enforcement and so forth. Who knows? It's just obscene. That's all I know. But We got the coyote medicine in the flow, you know. And if you can just lighten up about yourself, and especially about the life you've been living, and quit picking on everybody else because they're such shitheads. I don't care, man. You don't have to put up with that. Just don't be it. You know, don't respond to it, you know. They throw something at you, get out the hose, wash it off the house. And if they happen to get in the way of the hose, well, sorry. I mean, you know, you don't think about vengeance, you just take care of business. You know what I mean? And you get on down the path, lovingly so. That way you stay lighthearted. And it can't drag you back down into that heavy place where you got to watch out for yourself. Get vindictive or you know, re-practice cruelty that's been practiced on you one too many times. Shit like that. You know, we go through shit like that. We learn and grow. But, you know, once you're through it, you're through it. You know, I mean, there is a stage of growth where you say, wow, you know, I ain't living that way no more. Just like the day I hit retirement. See, now you got all my stories. You know what a challenge it was as well as a blessing. You know, but, you know, the day I hit that point, no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't get past it. I knew my days in the trucking were done. So I retired. Man, I tell you, it was like, whew. Like, you know, I sweated like it was a difficult decision. It wasn't. The heart has its way, and just what I knew. And of course, the angels hanging around, you know, when you're a little bit aware of them, well, they'll tend to energetically influence you a bit too. See, as you guys are starting to remember now, see, this is the magic of living a challenging life. Because you learn about the presence of angels and the cosmic side of creation, as I call it, which is the magic, which is the charm, which is the reality, the light, the truth, the way, and the people that we really are, you know. It's like, wow. And this is the day of our rising star. Meaning that, you know, personally, we can allow ourselves to experience any amount of growth that we want to. We don't have to do anything else about it. Settle for less. Do anything more either. Just hang on. Be alive inside. This will lead you where you need to go, doing what you need to do, but just be alive inside. Be feeling this life, this love, this recreation. As your eyes visibly change the reality before you. And you begin to understand how the flow works. You've been thinking it was instinct or intuition or some gut feelings or a combination thereof. Exactly, you know. Well, it's a little beyond even that. See, our true self is experiencing this self through the creation of the same heart we're living in right now. See, I mean, the two are one, yes. But we're a container for part of ourselves. You know, I mean, the full vessel's around us, of course. But part of ourselves, you know, has never been present here. See, not in these projections of reality we live in. See, so maybe it's time to be fully present. Maybe it's time for the worlds to no longer be separate. The vision and the journey are the same thing anyway. They're just lived at different levels. But it's the same life living it, creating it, going through it. See, that's you and I. That's all of us. We do this together as a collective heart, a tribe. And just like molecules and atoms arrange themselves in certain groups in certain ways to create in certain shapes and forms and performances in this reality and so forth, well, what do you think you're doing when you're living cosmically, man? You're forming up the molecules and so forth of the tribal reality you're living in, man. Talk about reformation. Well, I think it's more like transformation because you can't live the other way any longer when you know the truth. when it's living in you, it drives you on, man. You know, the vision will pick you up and sweep you along like tumbleweed. You screw around with it. That's what I call the spirit wind moving you along, see. And I know how it feels to be a tumbleweed and kicked along by that old wind. I also know how to appreciate and love it, so it treats me tenderly. And we just make a game out of it, you know, because we both know we got to go through it. I'm a tumbleweed, for heck's sake. It's a tumblewind. Guess what? Whew, there we go. Got to play, got to party, don't you know? See what a little experience will teach you, man, how to stay in the flow. That way you never have to get angry and be a hurricane or a tornado anymore. You'll be a little dust devil like that, you know, kicking around the tumbleweeds, because they're designed to tease you and train you just like anything else in this life is. I mean, that's your specialty, you know. We should, like, you know, if we're going to do sports competition anymore, maybe we should just let the dust devils hang around and kick the tumbleweeds around in some kind of the longest kick, you know. That tumbleweed went 3 miles with one swift kick, you know, or the longest tumble ride, keeping the tumbleweed in your influence and kicking the shit out of it all along the way, and yet keeping it intact. And just tumbling that sucker for 100 miles or two, setting some records or so forth, you know. We could have 3 or 4 tumbleweeds and dusty devils swirling around one of these desert valleys out here in the west somewhere. You know, we'd let the Air Force with their satellite put the lines on the land, so we didn't have to touch anything or make marks on it. Or, yeah, no, leave Mom alone, you know. But a little, you know, image projection don't hurt nothing. We might as well you put this shit to creative use to, you know, trying to turn it on everybody and be enemies with all this shit. So anyway, yeah, long story short, make big game out of it. Have a great time, man. Merge the realities, you know. That's the destination, because we already live there, you know. Of course, I've been telling myself all the time, you know, that, you know, if you're yearning for the destination, you're pushing too hard. If you realize the destination's already arrived at, then the rest of the journey getting there is simple. You just go through the motions, man. It's a Zen thing. You can learn this in a lot of other ways. This is my own particular brand of experience being exhibited a bit here today. But, you know, we all have the influence of the life we've lived, too, you know. A lot of times, you know, well, I don't know. You take your identity out of what you're doing a lot of times, you know, because you don't really feel like you have one otherwise. You want to be part of the collective, you know. You want to be joined in, even though you are a unique individual with liberty and injustice for everybody, no matter what, or however that goes for you. We're meant to be a singular presence, expressed personally in each person that lives, you see. But it is a singular presence. Mama. As I call her. Now, you know, you may have your own interpretation of that energy and that love. That's fine. Shit, far be it from me to tell anybody how it is. I'm just telling you what I live in, you know, and sharing that energy with you so you can live in it too. See, we're it's a united heart thing. You know, we're flying united, and we don't even own the airline anymore. You know, we sold that a long time ago. I think the Chinese got it now. They call it United. Same way we did back in the day. So yeah, we're flying United without the airline, and you know, God bless America and the United Airlines too. I think they're still in business, aren't they? Strange world. Oh yeah. So that's the other thing I've been prepared for. Because, you know, I learned how to live through sparse times. You know, make the best of whatever you had to work with, you know. I've had some lean times too in my life, you know, but boy, you develop some skills that way, you know. And anyway, you know, long story short, so if there is like a major interruption of services here in this reality for some reason or another, you know, you're probably going to make it through, you know, and help others do it too, because that's what we do when the chips are down, you see a lot of that out on the highway, man. It's like a whole bunch of that. That's what, starts to prove to you there is some nobility left in the human heart. When you see people doing things beyond the call of duty, it really impresses me, man. My heart about leaps out of my chest every time I watch something like that happen. Once in a while, I'd be an actual participant in some way or another, but, you just don't think about, you don't weigh evidence when you're in moments like that. You respond according to the need of the situation. Like say, and this is just a fictional thing, but it'll give you the idea. Say, you're by a tanker truck rolled over in the middle of the highway. And it ain't caught fire yet, but you don't know what kind of fuel's in it or anything. More than likely it's gasoline or diesel. If it's diesel, it might take a bit to ignite. If it's gasoline, watch out. So you're kind of smelling the air, because you were right there when he rolled off. It's rainy, slippery. You weren't going that fast. You pulled over, put on your flashers, watch traffic. Then you run over to, get this guy out of his truck, because if he's not thrown out of it, he's going to have to be released immediately, because there will be a fire. It's, it's some kind of petroleum tanker for sure. Might even just be crude oil. That stuff burns like crazy. Anyway, so, you just head out there without thinking, safely, get your truck out of the way. You don't roll it over by pulling it too far off the road and hitting the soft stuff either. You don't want to be part of the accident. You're just there at the scene of the crime, and just in time, because you're the only one around right now and you're the closest. So you're going for it, man. And, you dive out of that cab through, you watch traffic, but you get, bam, you're over there, And this guy is trying to open the door, and he's having issues. And without even thinking about it, somehow you reach underneath the cab and grab this crowbar thing. And, you yell at him, get out of the way, and you smash out the window, And you get all the glass out of the way, and he's okay. He's got a little on him, but he's not cut up or nothing. And you get him out of there. Gone. And you don't even think about it. Till a whole lot later. Then sometimes of gravity and a weight will hit you. But you're not like no hero. You don't make a big thing about it. In fact, you get out of there before they can take down your name and number. Once you're sure everything's secure, you're out of there, And you can usually, something like that can happen pretty quick. They can also bog you down if there's more than one, and then, there's fire, etc. It's just you just have to go with the flow of it. But you don't want no accolades or nothing. You don't want yourself involved, but you're there. And you're out of there. And it works most of the time. Not all the time, but just the same, you're willing to take the risk of being bogged down in time and paperwork and shit, if that's what it takes, you know what I mean? You don't even think about such shit. You don't sit there, well, let's see, when something's happened and there's people lying on the ground or in cars or trapped in trucks or whatever. You don't think about that shit. You move. Because that might just as easy be you laying there as them. Maybe it just wasn't your turn yet. So by golly, take care of those who was having their turn. And you do. makes you fall in love with humanity. When you see this, just again and again, you know, no matter how bad the times are, or how worse it's gotten, to use rough English, Mother Trucker, it's a worthy journey. You know? And it's a real blessing to be on it in any way, shape, or form here. Major blessing nowadays, as you're beginning to see. You know, it's the dawning of a new day, a new age, you know. And it manifests in this way and that, but it ain't going back. Jack, we learned it. We doed it. We got through it. Now we can go back to before we checked into kindergarten, be kids again, and have some fun. You know? Well, I tell you, long live this Mother Earth, her enchanted children, united in a peaceful, embraceful love forevermore in this energy field we call life, with liberty and pursuit of happiness on the list, because we don't have to pursue happiness no more, and liberty is happiness. Happiness is being able to enjoy just exactly where you are right now and loving yourself for it, man. Knowing you're going to grow from there, but great. Here we are. So no matter what's happening to you in this reality, just remember, it's all about love. And believe it or not, the huge respect we have for one another as a human person, not knowing anything else about another person, just because you're there. You truly are aware of that respect that you really do hold. It's not a have-to thing or something you can give yourself in any way. Just if you see that, you be that, you see. That's what sets us all free. So bless the ground you walk on, baby, and the sky above, and the earth below, and all the waters, and the animals, birds, bees, and the trees, and everything there is in bees. Ah, man. And know that we're here to change it. That, you know, the time's coming. It's just the right kind of timing, whatever it is. And, baby, we're getting in the flow, don't you know? We ain't taking this shit lying down anymore, so to speak. You know, we rise up in an evolution, a re-evolvement, a return, that's to say, you know, for lack of better descriptive terms, a return to a more enlightened state of human existence. A place where there wasn't a particle of conflict to be had anywhere. You take it from there. Imagine peace in an environment like that, and beings able to feel and be real about what they feel and not have to hide. You know, because everything they feel is real, and it's love, and it's not petty, not shallow, not indifferent. Such things aren't even known there. I mean, it's just a beautiful flow of glow, the love of life in motion, you know. Well, that's here, inside of each and every one of us. And as we begin to experience that, well, of course, we're joining the worlds, baby. That's how we do it. One toke at a time, right? one blissful experience, one blissful moment of the time. So forgive me for taking up so much of your time with my storytelling today, but I was just feeling that way. I hope we haven't run overtime or nothing. I lose track of time when shit's flowing. I'm just going, baby, and I love you so for it, too. Because the flow's coming right through me back to you, see? I just get to interpret it my own unique sort of way so you can catch on, too. Coyote, you know. Through and through. Okay. Oh, we're in good shape still. I can still play you some tunage before we discharge ourselves for another day of play. Tomorrow, what is that, Free Day Friday? I don't know if you can get any freer than I feel right now in this moment here. Hope you feel it too, baby. Because it's real if you want it to be. It's entertainment otherwise, and damn good entertainment. I hope you enjoy it. You'll learn and grow from it no matter what. See, Grandpa can be a cartoon too, man. Buy the Coyote, anybody? No, I don't buy from Acme. I only buy from, what's that, Granger, man. Yeah. Even though I pay $5 price. No, I'm kidding. You know, it's kind of hard to find anything. Oh, I don't want to even talk about that right now. You know, the world can be such a weird place, and, you know, economically it's kind of deteriorated a lot. You know, and quality's gone out the window on a lot of things these days. Most of what's here to be used is meant to be used up rather quickly, and that's not cool, you know. It used to be a whole different way than that, you know. Not that that was so damn honorable either. It was better than this. So think of it in those terms. You know, we've done better things already, even in this stupid-ass 3D. Far better than this. Even in restricted sort of ways. Even with all the craziness of all those times we've been through. The 50s and 60s, anyone? See? But we managed it. And we did better than the generation before us, one way or another. Each successive generation does, and you've been rising up the level of it ever since. I call it the tsunami of love, but it's carried by the generations right into this moment of right now, see? And by those beyond us, too, I call them the ancestrals, you know, for lack of better terminology. But it all is one big old wave of love. Ooh, see, so that's why it comes into a culminating point. A place of presence. Okay. So enough of that today. I think we just got to give up the excuses and go out and kiss us some mooses. But be real careful when you're doing that. Make sure it's, you know, Rocky's buddy and nobody else. Because he don't mind you kissing them. The other mooses, they might not. Well, I don't know. Depends on who you are, honey. Angelic presences have their influence, you know. Oh, just as an aside, but it kind of makes the point. I saw a video this morning, early this morning, you know. I was up early and I just happened to be watching. This video popped up somewhere on somebody's feed or something. But there's this big old lion. It's over in Oklahoma. I know the place, this wildlife place, safari place. They have a lion there, and they have these little weenie dogs, like Obi-Wan Kenobi here, my assistant DJ. And the weenie dogs, 3 of them I think it is, and this big old lion, an adult male lion, probably 10 years old now, looking at him. Maybe not quite that old, but you know, he's an adult male, fully a lion, and a wild one too. The dogs love him, he loves them, and he wouldn't let anything hurt him, man. He gets worried if they're away from him for even just a minute or two. You know, it's an amazing video. If you can find it on YouTube, I don't know how you'd search for it. Weenie dog, might find it that way, because I think that was in the description. But anyway, yeah, it was a great video, but it's also how absurd the divisions are that we've planted in nature, you know. These are artificial divisions imposed by the human will in a lot of ways, and we don't really understand that just yet, but we're catching on, see. You can't live divided from your creation, nor divided up in any way, and think that's okay or all right, because it doesn't. Then it doesn't work congruently. Then it's like pulling this way and that. It starts to shred, tear apart. So you want congruency, harmony, flow, don't you know? Well, that's what we share here day after day in that Coyote Medicine Short Away on the Coyote Medicine Show on the Everclear Hazy Radio Network, dear. And if this ain't the rockin'est network you ever found, well, you weren't tuned in long enough, were you? Catch tomorrow morning, 5 a.m. for the live and spontaneous Coyote Medicine Show on Hazy Radio Network. Which is, of course, the very center of your universal heart. We're living it, babies. All of us. United. What a great tribe. I love you, Vibe Tribe. You rock.